Welcome to the official podcast of Cardinals Nation 24/7. Each week, we put a unique perspective on bringing you the latest news, updates, and rumors of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball organization. Join the nation and stay informed by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, subscribing to us on the podcast form of your choice, and most of all, by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you all for supporting the nation. Let's get things started. Here are your hosts, Jared Redwine, Chris Lawless, and Larry Cox. Hello, Cardinals Nation, and welcome to another episode of Cardinals Nation 24/7 video podcast. I'm Jared Redwine, joined as always by my friends and my co-hosts, the one and only living legend Larry Cox, and the founder of Cardinals Nation 24/7, Chris Lawless. So I'm going to do it one at a time. How are you, Chris?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Larry, how are you, my friend?
Wonderful, man. Wonderful.
All right.
You guys, interesting start to the season. Opening series against the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. Cardinals looked good in the first game and then ended up dropping the second two. Had a little bit of a scuffle with Nick Castellanos. Yachty wasn't too happy about that. Our pitching so far has been a little interesting, but Chris, let me go to you first. What did you think so far to open the season? Flaherty, Wainwright, and Carlos, none of them really fared too well, so starting pitching seems to be a little bit of the concern so far.
Yeah, I mean, even though we won that first game, Flaherty didn't look sharp. I mean, it was super cold that day, not trying to make excuses, but, then when Wainwright had his round, he said, it was a little bit different gripping the ball than coming out of Florida. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some adjustments that, still have to be made, but pitching is a cause for concern right now when not everybody's clicking on all cylinders like we'd hope. Cincinnati definitely has a lot of bats that, didn't help the cause out really, but pitching wise, any of them look sharp. So that going forward, I think, working the kinks out and they're going to have to be better.
Yeah, Larry, the walk was a big problem for us, and control overall seemed to be kind of an issue, even with some of the bullpen guys. What are your thoughts so far on the opening rotation? You think just opening series of baseball, give it time? Obviously, the Cardinals Nation is in dire panic, and the season is all but lost, of course. Your thoughts on pitching to start the opening series?
Well, my prediction of a perfect season is over, so I'm distraught about that, of course. All in all, I mean, you come into Cincinnati, of course, we all know it's not a very big stadium anyway. It's known for the big fly. On top of that, the cold weather, it's hard to grip that ball, especially when you got a lot of breaking ball pitchers. So I think we're just struggling right now, but I think that everything will fall in line. Plus the recovery of a couple of the starters coming back, that's going to help. I think Ponce coming out of that has done pretty well. So I think things will come together just as they take their turn. I think it'll improve. I'm not overly scared of it so far.
Yeah, I mean, the weather was a little cold, but the ball sure was flying for the players on the Reds, and Castellanos basically was killing us. It seemed like every game. Had a little bit of a scuffle with him, obviously, as everybody knows by now and has seen the replays of. And a lot of people think that he was thrown at by Woodford because of the home run trot the day before. Me, I don't think so. I didn't even realize there was a trot or an issue until after that happened. I think the ball just got away and hit him, and he blew it out of proportion and thought it was more of a intentional than it actually was, and offering the ball back and all that stuff was a little bit non-face. Whenever the play happened at the plate, he was obviously confused and had no idea. What are your thoughts on the little scuffle with the Reds?
Yeah, I think it obviously wasn't intentional. I mean, you look at Woodford, there's no reason to hit him there. Even listening to the post-game interview that Castellanos had, he's like, yeah, I asked Yachty, did he hit me on purpose? And Yachty told me no. And he said, so I believe him. I've got respect for him. Now, him saying that is nice, but for him to taunt him after crossing home plate, I think his mind was a little, thinking otherwise. I don't see a problem with being a passionate ball player, and I sure wouldn't want to get drilled with a 94, 95 mile an hour fastball, but you flex on a guy at home plate like that, you're going to have to deal with some repercussions. Now, honestly, I think the being ejected was warranted. I'm not so sure that being suspended, and he'll fight that. I think that's more of the COVID protocol type of thing is why the suspension took place, because he didn't have any physicality. It's just the taunt. But no, I don't think it was intentional, but I do think that this heats up the Cardinals and Reds rivalry and, kind of brings back the days of like the Brandon Phillips type thing.
Yeah, I think when he said all the Cardinals are a bunch of little bitches, I think is what he said, which Yachty, for some reason, took offense to that.
Yeah.
And it ended Jason LaRue's career from concussions, getting kicked by, wasn't it Cueto?
Yeah.
Who's still pitching for some reason. Larry, your thoughts on the little scuffle and the aftermath so far? Obviously, yeah, he is appealing that suspension. I thought that was a little odd as well, considering it wasn't actually a physical fight. But I guess, I didn't think about the COVID protocol. But Larry, your thoughts on the situation?
I think, again, this is the Reds they don't make a lot of headlines nationally with their playing, so they have to do something above and beyond to get recognition. So this is all over again just to get in the news. Bad publicity, still publicity. I don't think Whitford hit him intentionally. I think it's MLB blowing this away out of proportion as far as the suspension goes. I think the flexing of the muscles and kind of standing over top of him was uncalled for. I think the bench's clearing was just because Yachty was in the middle of all that. I don't think anything serious was ever going to come out of it. But then even like he said afterwards, he said, I don't care if the guy punched me in the face, I'd still get his autograph. So, I think it's just, again, I think it's just a publicity stunt on their part. So,
yeah, I think there was a little more to it with maybe some other things we don't know about, because we only hear part of it. And obviously the answer to the cameras most of the time is going to be, it's all worked out or squashed. But, the two bullpens were going back and forth at each other after the exchange. Hicks was pretty heated at somebody for whatever reason that they never really informed anyone about. So like Chris said, it'll be interesting going on into the season and kind of the rivalry renewal, so to speak, of the two teams. And I think the Reds are playing pretty good. I think they won again today. I was going to check, but they've been pretty hot so far. Yeah, the Reds did really good today. They beat the Pirates 14-1. So I would say the Bats are alive. They're now 4-1. So the Reds are looking better than we thought. And, we talked about this, last week. You're not going to win a championship in April, but you can definitely get yourself behind the 8-ball. And we haven't looked as sharp against Miami here in the new series with the Marlins. We won yesterday. Didn't look as sharp. At least Ponce went 5 innings. Now we've got tonight's game. Gant only went 4. Didn't allow any earned runs, thanks to Tyler O'Neill making 2 errors in 1 play. But your first thoughts on the game in Miami and what we've seen tonight, which in case Carp did have his best hit ball so far. He hit back to the left field wall just a moment ago.
Yeah, for those tuning in too, we're recording this on a Tuesday night and we put this out on Thursday. So if we're talking about a game from yesterday or today, know that we're just a couple days back. But no, against Miami, we haven't looked really that sharp either. It was nice that we got that first win. Tonight's game where Gant's pitched, it seems like this game is just dragging on forever. Gant was very slow to the mound each time. Right now, currently it's 3-2. We've got a lead, so hopefully we can hang on to that. Again, the offense doesn't look too sharp. Carpenter was slotted in the lineup today because the right fielders of Dean and Williams have went, I think, 0 for 15 or 0 for 19. You've got Tyler O'Neill, who's struggling with the strikeouts again. So there's some concern there. But on a positive note, Goldschmidt and RoleNado are looking good. Tommy Edmonds doing pretty good at, leading off. But there's some things this team needs to work on. I think they'll get in a groove. Miami's a good team to really build on. So that this is a team we need to be playing right now.
Yeah, the young guys in the outfield that everybody was excited to see is looking a little rocky this early in the season. And with the young guys, they obviously don't get as much of an opportunity to hold on to that spot. They kind of have to perform rather quickly. And Williams, I was hoping he would actually do quite well, but I think he was looking pretty lost out there. Larry, your thoughts on the outfield situation? You think it's going to give it more time, or you think, like we see in tonight's game already, Schultz not going to give him a lot of time to get set? The lineup's going to be pretty fluid.
I think currently with the fact that there's no true minor league playing right now, I think that kind of limits you on at bats. I mean, Thomas, he's batting against our own players or what have you. So there's no real showing that for him to improve. So I think for the current situation, I think you're stuck with what you have. I think, putting Carlson in center field where he's been playing right field all of spring training, that kind of maybe that's a little bit of stress. He's pushing, he's pressing. Williams trying to press because he's a young player. He knows, this is his chance to shine. And now, maybe O'Neill being a young player, winning that Gold Glove, he puts pressure on himself too. I mean, that's what young guys do. Then we just learned, just a while ago, they talked about Bader. He's probably out a lot longer than they thought. So then now you're back to, Dean or Thomas being your other options. Maybe Niglowski or, maybe he goes to right field. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts here that we were hoping not to see, but I think they're kind of the ugly monsters have shown their heads, and I think we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to go against the grain too, you guys. I know normally we kind of stick more to the reporting and we do some jabbing, but I'm not a fan of the batting order. I'm just going to come out and say I don't like the way the batting order has been set out by Schultz so far. Not to say I think Schultz is a horrible manager. I don't want people to read too far into it, and I'm saying it's all his fault. But I don't like the batting order. The whole reason for Carlson and Williams making the team was a left-handed bat. So to have both of them hitting back-to-back at the bottom of the order made no sense to me. Carlson is also someone who you consider to be a future top prospect who hit cleanup last year, and you were having him bat eighth in this first series. He did get a home run out of it, but I think having him higher up in the order, I get maybe what Schultz trying to do, balance it, but Carlson is still not proven. So I think having him so far down in the order doesn't make sense. He should be batting sixth, in my opinion. I mean, I love Yachty to death, but Yachty is slower, and you've got to figure anything he's going to give you production-wise with the bat is going to be a plus. But I would totally love to see Carlson sandwiched in between DeYoung and O'Neill and maybe see some different pitches to hit. And also it's going to flip the pitcher around a little sooner, of having to work different sides of the plate there, kind of not at the back end of the order, not at the top, but kind of right there in the middle, and kind of have to make them have a different approach and switch things up more. And I'm just not a fan of Carlson batting so low. I mean, Williams was where he needed to be in the pitcher, and I would probably say Yachty should be batting seventh at this point, maybe ahead of O'Neill, depending on how bad he looks, just because Yachty's so double play bound. He just puts the ball in play is his positive, but Carlson should definitely be moving up in that order, or maybe even batting second, because, Edman and Goldschmidt and RoleNado are looking well. Maybe we sandwich him in so he gets some pitches to hit. I think putting him eighth in the order with Williams behind him is not doing him any favors. Maybe I'm way off base here, but I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. What's your thoughts on the batting order so far?
No, we talked about that early on too, that, we would like to see, maybe Carlson batting second so we could see some good pitches. But then you do sandwich having him and Edman as a 1 and 2, and then it's a lot of right-handed, bats right after that. But maybe moving Carlson to cleanup and having DeYoung bat fifth would be a little more ideal. I know DeYoung has usually his best month is April. I mean, he comes out pretty good the first of the season, but to have him as your cleanup, I don't think that's going to last all season long. I think, again, this lineup's right now in pencil. I don't think it's in ink. And, throughout, if somebody's struggling, I could see somebody like a Nagowski getting a shot in right field. And that's if Edman doesn't get an outfield spot where Carpenter gets more playing time.
Yeah, Larry, what are your thoughts on the batting order? I mean, do you not really see a problem at this point? Or, I mean, to me, I don't like it. Every time I'm seeing the lineup coming out, I wasn't a big fan, just how I wasn't a big fan of Carp hitting fifth today after he's had a horrible spring and looks lost at the plate. I don't see the point of having, I'd rather have Yachty or somebody hitting in the 5-hole other than Carp. I get, and his logic doesn't make sense to me today as well. They're trying to mix in a lefty. Well, then why is Carlson not hitting fourth or fifth? So putting Carp in and having him bat so high and saying it's to mix up the batting order doesn't make any sense if you're going to only say it when you put Carp in the game.
Well, I mean, right now you're low end. You're 6 through 8. You're looking at those guys ahead of the pitcher. Those are automatic outs right now. So you're looking at basically a dead zone of 3 outs, 3 up, 3 down, sit down. We're done. Um, Maybe if we win tonight, maybe knowing that we've won the series, maybe he does make a little bit of adjustments tomorrow. Maybe he gives Goldie the day off that he can slot a Carlson in there at number 2. But my question is again is what if Carlson has to take a day off? Who plays center field? O'Neill. So then you're asking him again to adjust to another position. So then you're going to move him around again. So I would just assume now in the Williams experience, let Thomas have center field and struggle with Thomas because he's a true center fielder. Maybe move the batting order around. Like you said, we always talked about in spring training, maybe Carlson be that opportunity guy at number 2. You got 2 switch hitters, then 2 righties. And then, of course, you got O'Neill or you've got DeYoung behind him in April. In May, we know that's his hottest time. I mean, he hit 30 home runs a couple of years, and 15 of them were in the first part of the season. So that's the thing we've got to look at. We just got to see. Maybe they're just trying to find everybody to gel. Maybe if this is about Arenado getting used to playing as a Cardinal. I mean, I don't know. It's Schultz's mindset right now is starting to teeter on that Matheny. Let's just get this out there and get it over with. And like you said, Carpenter batting 5th. That makes no sense whatsoever. It's a given out. There you go. There's an out. So
yeah, and since we have certain players are hot like Edmund, Goldschmidt, and Arenado. I understand you want to have him in there, but it's not really resulting in a lot of runs. Maybe we mix it around a little bit because I don't care what anyone says. You put Arenado and Goldschmidt, they're going to have the same approach regardless. Maybe depending on if there's runners on or not, they're going to change their approach in as far as what they're supposed to do with that particular at bat. But I think they're going to hit anyways. But I think if you move some stuff around and maybe you put Goldie at 3 or 4, throw Carlson in between them, something of that nature to help kickstart some of these other guys. So far, the bats look a little lost, and I'm a little confused myself, and I'm playing devil's advocate tonight, I guess. Maybe I'm in a bad mood for some reason. But my thing, too, is, we're struggling to have offense and the bats to come alive, and we still have not seen our hottest hitter, Nagowski, to spring training make an actual start, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, he come up and got a pinch hit appearance the other day, but yeah, he hasn't got an opportunity to start. I would tinker with it and, at least give him a shot out there one day. I don't think his defense is going to be bad enough to hurt you. And if it is, I mean, then kind of lesson learned, but you get that bat out there and not just being a contact hitter, but, he's got a good plate discipline and can get on base and, basically hits or walks at this point, we need to have some runners on base. And like you said, too, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have Carlson maybe batting in between Goldie and Arenado. You could have Goldie batting second, Carlson third, and have Arenado batting cleanup, and that might shake some things up, too.
Yeah, I think having someone like Carlson in between, it doesn't matter if he's third, fourth, fifth, if he's in between Goldie and Arenado, you got to think getting your top prospect jump started being in between those two guys. And then again, if it's a typical righty, right-handed pitcher, which we're going to run into 85% of the time, that's making that pitcher change his approach and his delivery and how he's, his execution as far as, pitches at the plate go. As far, you've got Goldie, turn around for Carlson, turn back around for Arenado, anything to throw the pitcher off a little bit. Like, it doesn't do any good because we go back to the bottom of the order is weak, and all weekend in Cincinnati we had Carlson, Williams, and then the pitching spot, and then Edmund, who also would bat left. So Schultz been talking about it's all been about staggering the order with Carlson, and Williams is a left-handed bat, so he's going to make this team. But you're talking about putting all 3 of them and 3 out of 4 batters with the pitcher who is going to be ineffective. So putting them all together to me made no sense whatsoever in the Cincinnati series. And having Carlson bat slow, I couldn't figure out. But I'm thinking if we're trying to throw the pitcher around, but if they're going to go to a lefty in the pen, he's got to face 3 batters. We're making it pretty fucking easy on him because he's going to pitch to our 3. He's going to turn Carlson around, then pitch to Williams, turn Edmund around. But it's just kind of like it's throwing everything. It's not like its purpose is not being fulfilled, basically. So it's just been throwing me off, and I wasn't a big fan of it. And to not see Nagowski get a chance, and to see Williams start 3 games, and then Dean finally start 1, and now Carp is starting, and Nagowski is still waiting for an opportunity to come in and get some decent at bats and even get on base. When you guys on base, he's good at that regardless. I'm not saying come in and bat him 3rd, but 6th, put him behind DeYoung or somewhere in that, or even behind Molina, just something to mix up and try to make things happen. And he was our hottest hitter in the spring, and now we're making him sit for a week and a half. I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining. Chris, what do you mean? Am I far off here?
No, I don't think you're far off. And I do think Schultz got a little bit of a shorter leash on some of these guys where, yeah, he did trot Williams out, for 3 games. But seeing that wasn't working, hey, let's try Dean. And now he's trying something else with having Edman out there and Carpenter. I mean, I don't think he's naive enough to go as far as what Matheny would throw the same lineup out there regardless. I think he's open-minded enough to see some struggles and address them. But like you said, I mean, it's not making much sense if you're wanting to stagger the lefty righties and then have, a stockpile of lefties at the end with Edman coming up as a leadoff as a lefty. So he kind of contradicts himself there. Again, it'll just be interesting to see if he keeps adjusting on the fly and, putting some guys that can get on base. And that's going to be the key, I think. Even if, Bader doesn't come back for a while and you've got what you've got, like Larry said, there's Lane Thomas down there that has a little bit more major league experience than the other 2. And you can't just ride off of spring training stats, even though Williams and Dean did well. If they're not producing at this level, and I know it's early, can't write them off yet, but you have a short leash on those guys because you can't afford to get too far behind in April.
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 games in, so it's nothing to get crazy about. But to me, it was just the whole logic of the righty lefty deal, and then putting the order the way he did, and then he puts Carp in and bets him 5th because he says he wants a lefty higher in the order. Just to me, doesn't make sense. I'd put Carlson in that spot, and Carp didn't look as bad. He made good contact tonight, but now here we are, 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th, and he's out of the game, and Austin Dean is now in, which I get that's more of a defensive move, and Edman has moved to second base. But O'Neill could also play right field. I mean, if you're going to do a double switch, okay, so we get the 9th inning coming up, so that means Dean's going to be coming up to hit. Whoa, boy, I'm terrified. Put Nagowski in on the double switch and let him get an at bat in the 9th inning. Maybe try to get some offense going. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm complaining too much. Larry, I mean, you said it yourself, in April, you don't win championships, but they are important. And I think everyone was counting on, 2 series wins, and we dropped the series Cincinnati, and we don't look solid in Miami so far.
I would, like I said, I would give this series what happens tonight. If we get the win, we hold on, get the W with Reyes on now. Maybe that tomorrow we have more of a different lineup. Maybe rest some of those starters. And Nagowski gets that chance to play first base. Then we see what happens. I think these guys right now, I think with Carp, I think again, like we said before, he gets April. And right now, April's not looking good for him. I mean, I realize it's 6 games in, but he's still 0 for what, 20? I mean, whatever it is. Even if he hits the ball hard, it doesn't matter. He's still lifting the fly ball to the warning track in left field. He's not clearing the fence. He's not dropping in front. So then you move forward. How long do you stick with Williams? How long are you going to keep sending him out there just to prove a point? It doesn't matter what he did in February and March if he's not doing it in April. Why isn't Thomas playing center field, the better center fielder that we know defensively? I mean, if he's not going to create runs, at least he'll take runs away. And then I want to see Carlson move to the right field and stay there. I think it's not a good policy to start moving young players around all the time and not letting them get used to a start or a position that they get accustomed to. So right now, like I said, I'm not jumping over the ship yet and not freaking out and wanting to send Schultz to Kansas City or nothing fancy like that. But it's right now, I think, we're through 8, so that's good. So like you said,
yeah, I was watching too.
I mean, to me personally, with what's going on with the guys that have had the hot starts, Why not drop a Carlson to the first hole? Why not move everybody back one spot? Just move Edmund to the 2-hole. At least you break up all those outs. Those are given outs at the bottom of the order. They're automatics, like you said. You're making these guys like in Cincinnati. Their 3, 4, and 5 starting pitchers didn't even have a name until they announced them. Who they were going to be, we didn't even know they were, other than the first 2 starters. So we made them look good because we had who we sent it out. So. Again, I think it's early. Let's see what the guys can do. Maybe they'll stop pressing a little bit. We go home. We get that opening start at home. That's a big deal. I mean, that may be a whole different ball game then.
I think, going to Busch Stadium and seeing fans in the seats are going to, definitely have an impact on the players. But I want to go back to this one more time because we do keep talking about the order of things. And I don't have a problem with Edmund first, Goldschmidt second, Arenado third. But Carlson, when he was up last year, he struggled, got sent to the alternate site, and then came back. Chris, in what position was he at?
In the lineup?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cleanup.
He was hitting cleanup, and he did good, and he tore it up. So now here we are to start this season, and we've got 1, 2, 3 set, and the guy that tore it up the end of the year in the cleanup spot is batting 8th. And he's supposed to be our future prospect, and he hits from the other side of the plate because he's a switch hitter. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
I know we're dissecting things, not trying to be like the season's all over because of the first series loss, but you look across the league too. At the Braves started off 0-3, and the Orioles are 3-0. It's stuff like that happens. It's just the Cardinals don't need to fall into a funk and get too far behind. And I do think Miami's going to be a good series for us to get this series win and to come back for opening day at Busch. I think the Cardinals will be injected with some life and playing with some purpose. So I think that they right the ship early and get on a good winning streak. But again, you got to put the players in the position to succeed, and Schultz going to have to be figuring that out on the fly.
What's your thoughts on the team makeup so far? You think defensively, well, we look a little rocky too, but just on the first 5, I know it's a lot to think about, Larry, but in the first 5 games you've seen so far,
I like we said from the very beginning. I mean, Edmund, I think so far has plugged right in at second base. We haven't lost anything by losing a Gold Glove second baseman in Wong's departure. The outfield, other than tonight, O'Neill, the miscues at left field was a little different for him, even because he's usually pretty sure-handed. Carlson doesn't cover the ground as much as some of the other center fielders would. That's why I truly wish he'd just be in right field and be left alone. Williams, I think he's done an adequate job. I mean, he's not hurt anything defensively other than he can't hit. But when you bring Carp in and he plays second, Carp's done really well at second base. He hasn't really looked that bad at second base even. So across the board, I think defensively the team's pretty solid. And I think the bats will come. I mean, the old adage was for years and years that the pitchers were always 2 weeks ahead of the hitters coming out of spring training because they had a month start. But I like the way this team is built. I think, the old Tony La Russa adage was, the bullpen kind of shapes up in that late April, early May time. Everybody gets those defined roles, what they're good at. And right now I think we're struggling to find those roles. I think that some of these hitters I think the young kids, like I said earlier, I think they're just pushing. I think they're pressing. They have to impress. And if not, they're going to be sitting at the alternate side or at AAA when it starts in a month. But again, that's the thing. I mean, as we go forward, it's just these guys have to get more at bats and the repetitiveness. And also you got to remember, like a guy like Williams, I mean, this is a travel time for him right now, getting adjusted to that as well. He's not used to being in the big leagues and going to Miami and Cincinnati within a couple of days apart. And it's an adjustment for that kid as well. And we know what Carpenter's problem is. He's still trying to adjust to everything on the fly, and he's only 100 years old. So I think all in all, I think this is a good makeup of a team. I think that moving forward, as far as what happens with Carp, I think that's your biggest question mark I see right now. The starting pitching, I'm not really worried about it because we know Michaelis and Kim aren't that far away. Again, we've heard that. And Ponce actually pitched a decent game. And Gant, I think he's serviceable. I think he's done a decent job. He pitched well tonight. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, the walks got him. So, and if you watch the game early, they were not giving him that outside corner all night long. He adjusted as he went along, and they hit him a little bit. But all in all, I think this team's going to just pick up momentum going into Cincinnati or going back to St. Louis and then heading on from that point. So,
Yeah, so far also and to start the season, Chris, it looks like our bullpen's kind of coming into form a little bit. It looks like Reyes is going to be closing. Gallegos has looked pretty good. Hicks has made a couple of appearances. You happy with the way the bullpen looks so far? Just hopefully they don't have to keep going to them so often. We don't want to wear them down early, but your thoughts on this early in the bullpen?
Yeah, Helsley looked a little rough, in an outing, but yeah, we've seen Webb in some consecutive games where that's kind of a concern too. I know they've got the pitch to 3 batter minimum, but and some of these guys are starters turned into relievers, but this early in the season, you'd like to see your starting pitchers go a little bit deeper than what ours have. Even having those weapons in the pen, you don't want to wear the bullpen out early. Do like where they've kind of slotted in. Woodford doesn't look particularly sharp, but I think he's a capable arm, and he may be, one of the first guys that gets swapped out with the taxi squad or something. But all in all, I like Reyes in the closing role right now. And when Hicks gets firing, that might be a lethal 1-2 punch to end a game when you've got Gallegos and Helsley and the rest of the crew. That's a nice 1-2 punch to end the game.
Yeah, and like you said, Larry, too, Gant has been serviceable, and he did a decent job tonight, even though he didn't go as deep as you'd like. But KK did make a start today in a simulated game at the alternate site, so I think he threw 60-some pitches, so you got to figure he's maybe another turn out of the rotation, and they had him obviously pitch today. Just keeping in mind, they're probably keeping him on a starter's workload, so they're going to keep him in tune to pinch with Gant. So whenever he's ready to come up, he's just going to take Gant's spot. But me personally, I kind of like seeing Gant working out of the bullpen for a couple innings here and there. I mean, what do you think, Larry, so far on the bullpen? You think they've held up pretty well?
yeah, I think that like I said, I think that Cincinnati, I think the cold temperatures had a lot to do with that. You come from Florida, the cold temperatures, and what they said game time was like 34 degrees the first day. We just tacked on all the runs early. That helped. Helsley looked better tonight than he did the first time out. Woodford got in tonight. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty decent. All in all, I think these guys slot into their positions. Like you said, it looks like Gant and Kim are probably, like you said, they're mirroring their throwing pattern just so that he can step in for Gant in the future in the rotation. I would say maybe a week from now, the next start that Gant would normally take, that probably moves Jake back to the probably taxi squad, like you said, or maybe to the alternate site. I mean, there's so many different sites now, I can't keep them all straight. And then you keep him stretched out just in case that maybe Kim doesn't re-injure himself or doesn't come back as healthy as they hope. And you have Woodford who can step back in, Gant can move back into the starting rotation or vice versa. Again, I think you get that tired of that fatigue. You get that fatigue going with their arms. I think that's when the breaking balls work better. So I think some of these guys, their breaking ball, they're overcooking it. They're throwing a little harder than they probably should in the cold. They're just not getting that spin rate they need. I think that's the biggest difference right now. And, I mean, we can't use that excuse tonight. They are playing in Miami, so it's got to be warmer there than it was in Jupiter when they were there. So I don't really see any problem with the bullpen. We already said that all spring. We thought the bullpen was probably one of the best in the league.
Right.
It's just, I think it's going to just take time for these guys to adjust and they find their niche, they find their roles. I mean, what was it, 2011 that the bullpen was struggling all year until August, and then they just caught fire and they carried us into September and October. So sometimes it just takes that little bit of a push or a little bit of learning experience to get on board. Tonight, I think a lot of the guys that came in replaced Webb. He had a decent inning tonight. He faced his 3, I think he gave up a walk, but I think he got 2 outs pretty easy. So, like you said, Reyes kind of cruised through his inning like usual. I think he's been right now probably the best arm in the bullpen or the starters.
Mhm.
He's been pretty dependable, like we said he would. We kind of look for him to be a starter.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of work too. I mean, he's going to finish this game out tonight, I'm sure. Hopefully, unless he gets in trouble. But one thing too, one last thing before we move on to opening day at Busch Stadium against the Milwaukee Brewers in the opening series, which is when you'll be watching this video, everyone. And if you're not watching it, please do. Is Goldenado looks pretty good. It looks like it's early as we're talking about all these pitchers and everything, but it looks like we've got the 1-2 combination that we've been missing for some time, probably since we had Pujols and Holiday when they were playing well. Chris, your early thoughts on Goldschmidt and Arenado?
I don't think we had any question that they would, come in and immediately make an impact, but they both look sharp and, getting on base at a high click and, they're seeing the ball well, and to have them bat next to each other, I think that's, providing some consistency at the top of the lineup that we've, drastically needed the last few seasons. But again, you got to mix in, can't just have those two guys hitting and everybody else not. So you've got to have some guys clicking behind them. I think that'll happen throughout the season. But yeah, both of them look great, both defensively and offensively. And, just moving forward, I think that they're both going to continue to do well. I mean, they're your consummate pros. They're a pro's pro. Take good at bats. I don't think anything but good will come from both of those guys.
Yeah, and Larry, you have to agree with what Chris is saying. They both, even when they're not, crushing the ball, they're both putting some good at bats together. Fouling off a lot of pitches, trying to do different things to make it work to where they get on base. So you have to be happy with what you've seen so far.
The biggest thing that these guys that you see, even though they are superstars or former superstars, Goldschmidt's probably not as what he once was, but they're willing to move the runners and do the little things, and that's the thing that impresses you about both of these two guys. The hardest part is in today's game is these guys are always about their statistics, individuals, but you see the little things like in the game tonight. Goldschmidt just a routine ground ball to the third baseman, pulls the third baseman off far enough where he can score from third base. It was just smart heads up base running. We continue to talk about those two, but even Edman has played above and beyond what we could have asked for from him. And that's another reason I hate seeing him being jockeyed around. Put him a second, leave him alone. You got to get some continuity in the infield as well. And with him and DeYoung, I think they need to get together and work on that double play. You're not going to get that if they keep moving him to the outfield and just so Carp can come and strike out. I mean, Clydesdales, I'm sorry. There you go. There's your one tribute for the night. But other than that, I agree. I think this is head and shoulder. This is probably one of the best acquisitions that we've had, these two guys, and since probably picking up Roland. I mean, you're like you said, we've said before, having those two guys, the corner positions, how many runs a game does that save for a pitcher? And with our pitchers, if they get the ball down, nobody's going to get on base in the infield with that group, especially all four of them. I mean, that's just even DeYoung's a solid shortstop. He may not be a solid hitter, but we've seen, the knock on him has been his ability to get to that ball in the hole. Well, guess what? There's no hole over there anymore. You got this guy a vacuum at third base now. So that's going to make a big difference as we go on the season. So
notice what you're talking about, and I think you guys probably saw it too, and the announcers even brought it up that there was a few plays that were, could have been made in Cincinnati to where, Arenado and DeYoung and some of the guys aren't used to exactly working together yet. Where Arenado was trying to get the lead runner, it's kind of, so I just wanted to kind of add to what Larry was saying, about DeYoung and Edman working together. It's going to take a little bit of time. They're still, even though they're very talented, all of them, even DeYoung is an above average shortstop, and Edman, I think, will come out that way at second base. Also, there's still a little bit of figuring out, on certain plays, like who's going to do what or where I'm going to be looking to make the play. And Arenado likes to try to get that lead man and make aggressive plays, but I saw that a couple of times. Did you notice that also, Chris?
But no, I agree with what you're saying with Edman too, that you do want to have some sort of groove with him and DeYoung that, Wong had a good connection with DeYoung. I mean, they could read each other pretty well. And that does come with, getting the reps together. And so if you throw that off with putting Edman in the outfield much, you are going to interfere with some of that. Edman does need to get comfortable at second base. And even though we've got somebody like Gorman in the minors that you might come up and become a second baseman, it's Edman's job to lose at this point. You want to get him, as comfortable as possible, because with the bat, he's doing what he needs to. Defensively, he's not a liability at this point. But the more comfortable that they become together as a unit, I think that the Cardinals will benefit big time from just leaving him there and letting him get some playing time in a second.
Yeah. And then moving on to opening day, the Clydesdales are going to be there. They've got some festivities planned. And what's the biggest thing that's going to happen? I thought it was pretty cool, and I heard about it too, Chris. What's the main thing that you were going to bring up a minute ago?
I was going to tell everybody that Jason Hayward will be coming back to throw the opening day pitch. No.
Nice.
Yeah. No, we've got Scott Rowland will be throwing the opening day pitch to Nolan Arenado, and I think that's going to be very neat to see. A lot of Cardinal fans are going to be super stoked to see that. And, not that Arenado had any plans of leaving, but I think that just that moment alone is going to mean so much to him, and, kind of like a passing of the torch. And I think that's going to be one of the neatest things about opening day is to see that.
Yeah, it'd be an awesome picture after they throw it. They take the picture together. That would be an awesome picture to have the two of those guys in Cardinal jerseys. You think so, Larry?
Yeah, just having the two of them together. Could you imagine that autograph picture of the two of them together? That's going to be definitely worth something. I guess that moving forward, it's going to be a Hall of Famer is going to throw an opening day pitch the whole home series. I think Edmonds has game 3. I think he said on the broadcast earlier. So I think it's going to be kind of cool since they can't really do all the Red Jackets at home with COVID and all. So I think it's going to be kind of cool. They're going to still honor the traditions. That's the biggest thing about the Cardinals that we all love so much is traditions, and those Hall of Famers and those former players do mean a lot to us.
Yeah, having the Clydesdales too is really the tradition of having that. That's something too that we've missed out on, and I think is going to inject some life into not just the ball players, but the fans that do attend. I think it's going to be, just a sense of normalcy that we haven't had, is getting to see baseball like we were used to seeing opening day. So it's just another reason to get more excited than, last season.
Looks like they're going to have a pretty good opening day ceremony. I'm just going to kind of go off it real quick. It looks like they're going to have the Budweiser Clydesdales, of course. They're going to do a little tribute to Lou Brock and Bob Gibson. Introduction of the Hall of Famers. So I'm guessing, I don't know if they're going to be there on the video board. Salute to Mike Shannon. Then they're going to introduce Bill DeWitt, which he should get a pretty good ovation after his offseason work with Arenado, you would think.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any boos happening there.
And then they will introduce the players through the motorcade, Ford F-150s. Moment of silence. It doesn't say a why. And then you would think if they were going to do a moment of silence for Lou Brock and Bob Gibson, they would do it at 2:33 when they do the tribute, not 20 minutes later. Then the national anthem, and then a little opening day video. Then first pitch, Scott Rowland to Nolan Arenado, which should be pretty cool. And as we finish reading that, the Cardinals have defeated the Marlins. Yeah, they go on to what? 3-2.
3-2. We're over the 500 mark. I hope there's no looking back.
We do have a new viewer, subscriber that's going to be joining us probably about, 10 years probably. Congratulations to the Jen family, the addition of a new baby girl today. Scotland Rose Jen, congratulations to all. He's another one of our administrators, or he helps out and moderates the group. So I don't say congratulations to him and his wife. So a new Cardinal fan in the making. So
yeah, we keep razzing him that he hasn't been on a podcast, but he's been waiting on a baby, and that's great that everything went well, and beautiful little girl, and congrats to him and his wife.
Yeah, well said, Larry. Good point.
I have my moments. Yeah,
congrats.
Now does she need life insurance? I have Gerber life insurance I can sell her.
It's a big thing.
It's huge.
Larry's just looking at dollar bills.
Well, Zach will sell you a house.
It's true. He'll sell you a house. He'll buy the insurance if you buy a house. It should be an equal trade.
I need a house in Iowa. Why not?
Okay, let's move right along here to the series of Miami. We're going back home for opening day. Like we just talked about the festivities. We're going to be taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, and it should be an exciting game. We're going to be at 32% capacity roughly at Busch Stadium. And then Adam Wainwright is making the opening day start. It's got to be pretty special for him and for the fans in attendance, and it's going to be awesome for us to watch. I know on TV, but thinking last year might be his last year and not being able to pitch in front of fans, to have him come back and do the opening day throwing to Yadier Molina against Milwaukee's going to be kind of a big deal. It should be pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, that's another storybook type of thing that Cardinal fans, I mean, sometimes we take those moments for granted of, Wainwright, Molina coming back. We were excited about it, but I know some fans kind of had some disdain on whether or not, it was a good idea to do that. But all that's going to go away when you see Wainwright taking the mound. You're not going to think about his last outing being kind of roughed up. You're going to be in the moment, getting to enjoy seeing another Wainwright to Molina outing. And, that's just a part of, the excitement of opening day. And playing against Milwaukee, I think there's somebody on the Milwaukee Brewers that might get a pretty good ovation as well from Cardinals Nation.
Yeah, seeing the return of Colton Wong will be pretty awesome. So, I think he will get a good ovation. It'll be good to see. You're going to see, I think DeWitt's going to get a pretty decent amount of applause. You're going to see the Lou Brock, Bob Gibson tribute. The Clydesdales will be back. Wayno pitching to Yachty. They both returned. RoleNado will get his ovation, and then Colton Wong, of course. So the Cardinal fans will have a lot to cheer about come Thursday, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing about as a Cardinals fan. You just get to see the celebration that opening day really is. I live, like we've said before, dead center of Chicago, St. Louis, and Cincinnati. But I've seen opening day for all three, and there's no comparison by any means. It is a true family affair for St. Louis Cardinal opening day, always has been. The parade downtown, they cancel school that day, so that makes it huge. Cincinnati, you just show up, hey, look, there's Pete Rose, let's play ball. In Chicago, hey, look, we won a World Series way back. Oh, wait a minute, when was it? I can't remember. Anyway, so it's huge. It really is. Then the fact that we bring in all of the red jackets and, who's going to be the next number that's going to be retired, thrown up there on the wall, it is huge. And then even like you said, to having the two best trades we've probably made in the last 25 years, one throwing the ball to the other is going to be epic for us. One thing I was kind of flipping through some stuff here too, not to kind of change subject a little bit, but yesterday Yachty hit his 382nd double. Who would have ever thought he would have more than two or three? I mean, those are triples for everybody else, but still that's huge. And then, like you said, that kind of segues into, like we were saying, that, we're seeing this tandem of the battery mates that, this probably may more than likely be the end. I can see Yachty wanting to play because he's still performing at a higher level. Wayno, I think he's nearing the end. I think the tank is half empty, so to speak. I don't know. He may get a boost of young blood in him and keep moving. Who knows? But at this point, every time we see those two throw to each other or whatever, call a game or squat behind the plate and catch the other one, it could be that last time. And I appreciate what they've done for this team over the years. And I know several fans are as well. And those two coming down the field, that'll be the one of the biggest ovations, I would think. RoleNado, he'll see what it's like to be a Cardinal. Unfortunately, it won't be the 43,000 capacity, but it'll still going to be huge for him to see, that sea of red that, Holiday told him coming in. This is not like playing in Colorado. This is,
right.
This is baseball heaven.
And speaking of who will be next to wear the red jacket, we've got Keith Hernandez, Edgar Renteria, Steve Carlton, Matt Morris, and then Lee Smith are all up for the Hall of Fame voting this year, and I guess they're only going to take one, right, Chris?
Yeah, they're just taking one, and they will join. Was it Tommy Herr and is it Simmons? That was last year.
From last year, I think so.
Yeah, and one thing about the Red Jackets too, and I know a lot of our fans are like, maybe we're handing out too many of them, but it's sad that we won't get to see, Gibson and Brock. It's sad we don't have Red around anymore, but even guys like LaRussa won't be here this year with managing the White Sox. McGuire doesn't seem to make too many of these trips, but you will have Scott Rowland, Chris Carpenter, Edmonds. Willie
McGee.
Willie McGee, yeah, you're going to have
Ozzy. I mean, you got to have Ozzy,
right? But I'm just saying, like, these are going to be the guys that, I think hold it down for many years. That it's sad that we've lost the Cardinal legends of old, but these are guys.
We've lost a lot recently. Just in the past 8 years, we've lost Stan, Red, Lou.
Right.
Gibson. I mean, holy cow. The ones that will be joining are Tommy Herr, John Tudor, and Bill White.
Oh, that's right. Simmons was the year before.
Yeah. No, I would have said that. I was agreeing with you. I wanted to look it up and just see, but it's pretty special to me. I like seeing those guys, and Edmonds will be there. It's just times are changed differently, and for people that are our age, they like seeing Ozzy and Willie and Edmonds and Roland and those guys. And, in a couple of years, you're going to see people like Pujols will get his jacket quickly. Even I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Morris or Renteria, some of those guys, or even Hernandez or Smith, some of these guys that we watched. And, and another 10 to 15 years from now, it's going to be players that people are watching today, like honestly, like Matt Carpenter and Yachty and Waino and stuff like that. And Carpenter, he's had a bad couple of years. He number wise he deserves to be in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's a baseball Hall of Famer, but everything he's accomplished, if you go back and look at his numbers, just in what he's accomplished with his time as a Cardinal, coming up as a bench player and everything else, and what he's managed to do, he'll definitely be a future Red Jacket. And you've got, other guys that might be also Goldschmidt. Let's see what happens. And Arenado, if he sticks it out, but there's a lot of guys on this team that could be wearing that jacket, and we'll be watching them on opening day and, many years from now.
When we look at the guys like, Gibby and Lou and even Red, I caught the tail end of Gibby and Lou Brock, which you guys being a little bit younger than me by a couple months.
I think you were 25 or so whenever they.
Well, I was there at spring training with them, trying out. We were there hanging out at the hotels. But we seen them as just as figures of the Cardinals organization as a whole, because we didn't get to see them play on an everyday basis. Ozzy was my favorite player when I was a kid. He's that DeYoung is to the kids today. That's the biggest thing is now as you kind of move forward, those players that you liked in the 90s and the 2000s, those are the players you start introducing now, the Chris Carpenters and the Edmonds and the Albert Pujols, of course. We know that one's going to go up there, whether anybody likes it or not. Mm-hmm. The Yachties, the Wainos, those guys, it'll be more to you then, because you can say, hey, I seen those guys actually play. I was at the stadium. That's the difference. It does make a big difference. You talk to those older players, the Bill Sims and those guys in the group, they did see those guys when they were performing at their highest peak. So the Gibbies and those guys did have more meaning to them. And so that's the biggest thing is like, some people, like Chris said, alluded to that, maybe we give out too many Red Jackets. Maybe we retire too many numbers. That's just a tribute to our organization, how good this teams have been in the past. Most teams don't have that storied history the Cardinals have.
But yeah, you're right. Guys like Ray Langford, I love the fact that, he's a Cardinal Hall of Famer, and I'm sure we'll see Matt Holliday at some point soon get a red jacket. But yeah, it's neat to identify with them as I've seen them play. Not discounting, guys that wear the red jackets that we haven't, but it is a little more special when you've seen them play and have that connection of, especially a lot of time in watching games where they've wore the birds on the back.
I think the biggest thing about a lot of these guys too is they've played the majority of their careers, or their prime at least, is in St. Louis. The only one that might make exception is Edmonds and Rowland played elsewhere a little bit and then at the tail end, but they didn't really do a whole lot when Scott Rowland, was in Toronto, and Edmonds moved on to every team pretty much in the National League Central after he was traded to the Padres for David Freese. But you've got guys like Carp, who basically played in Toronto very quickly and was injury riddled and then came here. And I think that's what makes it so special about Matt Carpenter that people are forgetting about, and Molina and Waino, is everything they've done in their career. And they've put up some impressive numbers, has all been as a member of the Cardinals.
I mean, and that's the thing. We look at this now. I mean, a guy like Wong, does he get a red jacket? I mean, that's the thing. For the time he's been,
I would say no.
So that's
not at this point.
Right.
Now, if we would have brought him back, I do think he would have made a case for it, on longevity and numbers that he would have kept adding to what he's done. But yeah, I think he falls just short.
So yeah, coming up, we've got the series at home with Milwaukee, and then following that homestand, we have the Washington Nationals coming to town. Early thoughts on the Nationals, Chris? I mean, I know no Bryce Harper, but they still have Zim and Strasburg. But it'll be interesting to see how the Cardinals do. I think they've got some opportunity to take advantage of some of these teams early on.
I'm gonna say, has Washington even played a game yet, or they all been shut down with the COVID?
They have not played yet. Well, actually, they did. They played today. They beat the Braves.
Okay. So they'll be getting some double headers, I believe, to make those games up. So maybe we catch them a little bit tired, but I mean, they've got a rotation that's pretty filthy. They've got some bats, acquiring Schwarber. I mean, he's got some power, but their rotation is kind of filthy. And with the bats that we have, aside from Goldie and Arenado, I think, somebody like a Scherzer and Corbin and those guys, I think they could give the Cardinals some fits.
Yeah, it's always fun to see like Strasburg and Scherzer and Corbin and those guys, and even outfielders like Juan Soto.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen him grab his nuts yet this season, so
you will.
I'm sure he'll be pulling at his sack at the Cardinal pitchers to throw him off.
So the Nationals had 10 players move on to the IL with COVID. John Lester, Patrick Corbin, closer Brad Hand, 4 position players, Schwarber, Josh Bell, Josh Harrison, Yan Gomes, all went to the 10-day DL or IL, sorry. Backup catcher Alex Avila, Jordy Mercer all went on the IL. And so all these guys, they had their third string catcher was the guy that caught today's game for them today.
And they won. Wow.
So maybe
their catcher
aren't that good.
Well, their catcher today was maybe third string, but everybody knows who he is. It was Jonathan Lucroy, and he went 2 for 4 today. So they also got Ryan Zimmerman, who freaking played for the Nationals since the team moved there, I believe. So, and they got Trey Turner. So they've got some interesting players that I like to see, and so it's always kind of fun when you get to watch some of these teams that are not part of the Central.
Yeah, interested to see some of those guys play. Just rooting against them, playing in St. Louis, because like I said, those pitchers, that rotation is going to give us fits. I mean, I know sometimes it's these no-name pitchers that we struggle against, but when you look at a guy like Scherzer, I mean, up and down our lineup, I don't know too many aside from Arenado and Goldschmidt that's going to take him long ball or, really be able to put up a consistent, bats against him. So I'm a little worried about that aspect of it. And then they do have some bats that could give us fits too, but hopefully we can take care of business.
Also, Chris, I did want to bring up, we had our first Facebook live show for Facebook group and page members only. So far, what has the reaction been on the show? That
was pretty good. We did that. That was going to be the first of something we'll do what do you say, maybe once a month, kind of get some feelers out there where the Facebook group members are more engaged with the show and they can throw questions out and get them answered live on Facebook. Did have quite a few views, a good turnout, and then we uploaded that over onto YouTube, and people that missed out on being involved with asking the questions, they've caught up with it. And it's been a pretty good outcome so far, and look forward to doing some more. But yeah, it's neat to engage with the members of the group because they are such a passionate bunch, and you kind of get to know them a little more than just seeing a post put up on the screen, when you interact. So very cool stuff.
And if you're interested in being a part of those, you can go join us on Facebook at Cardinals Nation 24/7. You can find us on the group or the page. So check us out and like the page, and we would appreciate it. And you can join everyone else as far as being the largest Cardinals social media account on Facebook.
Yep, you can cheer the Cardinals on, or you could be like certain members and post about Matt Carpenter striking out every time he comes to the plate. We've got fans of all types.
Yeah, we got 38,000 in the group, and we've got about 200 that are like to stir the pot. And it's getting, when you have that many people, you're going to have that regardless. And Chris, why don't you tell them that we kind of called that a Cardinal Cuts thing, but we kind of tied that in with your audio podcast, because part of that is you're normally doing an audio podcast where you're taking questions, then you answer them on Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lawless. So tell everybody about that.
Yeah, normally I do a weekly show called Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lawless, and that is a Q&A that we do with the group members, where I'll put a post up and they will comment questions that they want me to cover in that episode. Usually I don't go more than 20-30 minutes long. Don't want to take up too much of people's time. But it's just a way to keep interacting and engaging with fans, and we decided to go ahead and post that up on the YouTube, as it is a Cardinals Nation 24/7 thing. So that was cool, and you can check out the audio. That's on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can catch a podcast, as well as this show. But we hope everybody tunes in and subscribes here to our flagship show, because that's where we're wanting to direct all the eyes. And we're just shy of 500 subscribers in a short time, which is pretty awesome. It's a testament to how many Cardinal fans in the group and elsewhere have caught on and, liking what they're seeing from us. So we appreciate all that support.
Yeah, we've got a lot of subscribers in a short period of time. So we appreciate you guys checking out the show and showing your support for myself and Chris and Larry. We do appreciate it, and we hope it continues. So please like and subscribe and share. And the point of sharing and liking is just to kind of gets the show out there more and kind of increases your algorithm, so it pops up in other people's suggested feeds more often. So any way you help us out, we do appreciate it. So 2 months and we're going strong and really enjoying it, and our videos seem to be getting more and more views every single week, and that's a testament to you guys. So we do really appreciate it. So feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so whenever we do a live show, which we are going to do here once a month as well. It's called the Conversation with the Nation, and so we're going to have some guests come in and kind of do a little round table type deal. And we also want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you like, or what you don't like, or what you might want to see from us to throw on future episodes or certain topics, or even if you have a question, feel free to throw it out to us, and we will do our best to try to get it on the show. And so as we close and get ready to wrap up here, the Cardinals dropped 2 or 3 games to the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. Then they are currently in Miami as we record this, and they've taken 2 of the first 3. The next game is on Wednesday, and then Thursday we have opening day against Milwaukee Brewers at Busch Stadium. And then it's an off day on Friday, and they follow up with games on Saturday, Sunday. Then with the Washington Nationals coming into St. Louis. Chris, final thoughts here as we close out the show.
It's been exciting to have baseball back, even though that first series didn't go as planned. Knowing that opening day at Busch Stadium is right around the corner, that's going to be just magic, and can't wait to see that. I know you guys are just as excited as I am, but also seeing the page and the group grow so much, and I think fans from all over are voicing how excited they are for Cardinal baseball. You know, even with some of the posts that aren't as positive, you're seeing an influx of people joining the group, just people excited about it. And that's going to be cool going forward, is just having that many passionate fans. And it might be a little more work for us to moderate the group, but it's well worth it to share our fandom with so many people.
I agree. It's pretty exciting. We're glad baseball's back, especially after last year, and we hope it continues, and we hope it's a good year for the Cardinals. And so far, we're going to win the series against the Miami, so we're going to be 1-1 on series for the year and heading home for opening day in the Milwaukee Brewers. What about you, Larry? Any closing thoughts?
Just keep it civil in the group. That's the biggest thing we ask. We don't like to block people. Well, I mean, I do, but the rest of you guys really don't like blocking people. But for some reason, Chris wants the population to grow, and I keep trying to kick him out. But all in all, it's all in good fun. We all are Cardinals fans at the end of the day. We're all here for that reason. We love baseball's being back. I enjoy my time here every Tuesday night with you guys. Well, it's almost my Wednesday morning, thanks to Jared. But hey, so again, you know, it's about Cardinals and our love for the team. So go Cardinals.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. We appreciate it. And go Cards.
Go Cards. You know what I almost brought up was the All-Star game in Colorado. And maybe that's the MLB's way of being like, well, the Cardinals fucked Colorado so bad, we'll give them the All-Star game.
That could be it. They feel sorry for him. They need a little revenue to help pay us for RoleNado.
Right.
All right, I'll try to get it out as soon as I can.
Hey, show us that sexy shirt you got on there. I haven't got a good look at that one.
It's the Redbirds with red wine one.
That turned out really good, man.
That is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, it did turn out pretty well.
That pops off the gray real well.
So, hey,
Yeah, I thought it was going to look goofy with the blue outline, but it actually looks pretty good.
Speaking of Scott Bowen, did you hear today about who's throwing out the first pitch opening day?
I did.
I did. We were going to cover that in opening day, but go ahead, Chris.
Oh,
You
no,
ruined
not
it. Wait, no, Chris. He's gonna cry, Chris. You know how you make him cry every time we have a podcast. He has to edit out his crying tears. Come on.
Yes, I'm glad I put together a format for no fucking reason.
He doesn't read the pre-show notes, does he, Jared? I told you. We outline these.
I didn't
We
have it.
meetings,
No.
production meetings, all the staff, and he never shows up. He just too much grooming of his beard.
Yeah, that's it.
I was going to talk about the defense too, Larry, but go ahead, Chris.
No,
Oh, now
Just-
you're picking on me?
You see the Brewers traded Arcia today?
yeah. Yep.
2 pitchers. How are the Brewers doing anyways? I was going to bring them up, but I don't know how the fuck they're doing.
1-3. Well, I don't know about tonight, but I mean they're 1-3, and of course,
As good as we are.
Cubs and Reds are 3-1, or were.
The Cubs are 3, yeah. Brewers are winning 4-0 right now. Travis Shaw has a 3-run home run. Okay. I'm ready when you kids are.
Episode 10. Let's go, motherfuckers.